When I heard her say Jake was better, it felt like a punch in the stomach. I could feel my heart race and my cheeks burn with embarrassment. It wasn't just jealousy, it was like a fire was lit inside me, pushing me to do something about it. Instead of feeling sorry for myself, I decided to use that hurt as a reason to become better. I started working really hard, focusing on things I could improve. When I think about the day Jake and I broke up, it hits me hard, like a punch in the stomach. His words sliced right through me. I thought we'd something real, but in a moment, it all fell apart. I felt like I'd been tricked. The guy I loved suddenly seemed like a stranger. How could he just toss our relationship aside like it meant nothing? The days after the breakup were a whirlwind. I kept replaying our last argument in my head, trying to understand what went wrong. My heart ached. I wanted to yell, to cry, but mostly I just wanted to feel better. It was tough. I couldn't shake the feeling that maybe I wasn't enough for him. Each day dragged on, heavier than the last. I knew I'd to get through this dark time. I quickly learned that healing from heartbreak isn't easy. It's full of ups and downs, twists and turns. So, I decided to focus on me. I threw myself into my schoolwork and spent time with friends who really cared about me. Gradually, the pain started to lift. I realized I didn't need Jake's approval to feel good about myself. The pain from our breakup didn't just disappear. It stuck around like a bad smell. Jake's mean words echoed in my head. "You'll never be as good as my ex." That wasn't just a silly comment, it felt like a pointy knife stabbing my heart. I replayed those words over and over, and they hurt worse each time. I started to wonder if he was right. Was I always going to be second best, but I wasn't going to let him win? I decided to heal, to face my hurt. I learned that Jake's words said more about him than me. I focused on myself and turned my pain into fuel. I dived into my schoolwork and joined clubs, determined to show him, and more importantly, myself, that I could rise above. Every little win felt like a bandage for my wounds. I got awards, made new friends, and bit by bit, Jake's nasty words started to fade away. I discovered strengths I never knew I had, and I figured out that my worth wasn't based on what someone else thought of me. But still, every success reminded me of his betrayal. I felt pulled between wanting to show him what I could do and just wanting to heal. It was a tough time, but it was my journey. I learned to stand tall, to take back my story, and to believe that I was enough, just the way I was. One day, I ran into Jake at a school event. He smirked. "Still trying to prove something?" I shot back, "Nope, just living my life." His face twisted in surprise, and for the first time, I felt powerful. I realized I didn't need his approval. I was ready to move on, leaving his shadows behind. I thought I was doing great. I'd good grades and tried new things, but then I realized I was still stuck, always wanting Jake to say I was doing well. His mean words echoed in my head like a buzzing bee. I couldn't understand why his opinion still mattered so much. That moment hit me like a punch. I was trying to find out who I was, yet I let Jake's words control me. I knew I'd to change that. I took a deep breath and decided to build my emotional strength. I told myself, I am not his puppet. Slowly, I started to see my own worth without him around. Then I made a choice. I wouldn't just try to show Jake he was wrong. I wanted to prove to myself that I could be better than his nasty comments. I began spending time with Sam, a friend who cheered me on for being me. I realized I could focus on my own dreams instead of plotting against Jake. This was my turning point. I chose to chase my own goals, not Jake's approval. I wanted a life full of happiness and self-love. That was my real win, and I was ready to grab it. "Watch me rise," I whispered to myself, feeling a spark of hope. With each day, I pushed Jake's shadow further away. No more waiting for his praise. This was my time, and I wasn't going to let anyone take it away from me. While I was on my journey to be better, I learned that hard work was my best friend. I faced betrayal from people I trusted, doubt from others, and constant comparisons that made me feel small. But each challenge made me stronger. I buried myself in my studies, determined to prove Jake wrong and show myself that I could do what he thought was impossible. Every late night studying was like climbing a mountain. I found motivation everywhere. My friends cheering me on, my dreams pushing me forward, and even the hurt from Jake's words. They lit a fire inside me. I joined clubs, took charge in activities, and grabbed every chance to learn. I wanted to show everyone, especially Jake, that hard work really pays off. As I settled into my new life, I faced a huge challenge: rebuilding trust. After everything Jake did to me, trust felt like a thunderstorm inside my heart. Sam was different. He treated me well and with respect, but deep down, I feared he might hurt me too. Was I just using him to fill the emptiness Jake left behind? One night, while we were chatting, I took a deep breath and shared my fears. "I want to trust you, but I don't know how," I said, my voice shaking. Sam listened, his eyes steady. "It's okay to take your time," he replied softly. His words wrapped around me like a warm blanket, but my mind raced with worry. I knew I'd to set boundaries in this new relationship. I wanted to protect my heart, but still let Sam in. Each time we grew closer, I felt excitement and fear battling inside me. Could I really open up to someone again, or would I just get hurt like before? I wanted to believe in love again, but the scars from my past were still raw. I'd to be patient with myself and with Sam, even if my heart longed for something real. Just then, my phone buzzed. It was a message from Jake. My heart dropped. The past was reaching out, and I felt the weight of betrayal creeping back in. Sam noticed my change in expression. "What's wrong?" he asked, concern in his voice. I took a deep breath. "It's Jake. He wants to talk." Sam clenched his jaw. "You don't have to respond. You deserve better." Confusion hit me like a punch. I was torn between wanting to move on and still feeling tied to my past because of Jake. I felt a tug of war inside. On one side, I was proud of what I'd done. I'd shown Jake that I was worth something. But on the other side, I felt empty, especially when I remembered how he'd put me down. Was I really getting better, or was I just hiding my hurt behind my successes? I was stuck in a tricky spot. I wanted everyone to see me as strong and independent, but Jake's words still echoed in my head. Each trophy I earned felt like a win, yet it reminded me of the weak person he'd once mocked. I was trapped, trying to prove myself to him while craving freedom from his hold. "Why do I still care what he thinks?" I muttered to myself as I stared at my latest award. He never believed in me. But deep down, a nagging voice whispered that I was still looking for approval from someone who never cared. I fought to keep my head high, but the old insecurities crept in. Was I really building myself up, or just pretending to be tough while I was still angry inside? As I wrestled with these thoughts, I knew I'd to face my past to truly embrace my future. "No more," I said firmly. "I won't let Jake control me anymore." How could I feel like this again? I thought I was over it, but seeing Jake and Zoe together made my heart race with jealousy. They were laughing, holding hands, and it hit me hard. I'd worked so hard to prove Jake wrong, yet here I was, feeling small and insecure all over again. Jealousy felt like a monster creeping back into my mind. I felt desperate, wondering if I'd ever be free from this hurt. I tried to stay busy with school, hang out with friends, and even spend time with Sam, but every time I saw a photo of Jake and Zoe, it felt like a punch to my gut. My distractions weren't working. I wanted to shout, "Look at me, I'm doing great. Why can't you see that?" I was achieving everything he said I couldn't, yet his opinion still haunted me. Was I really moving on, or just stuck in this jealousy trap? This feeling made me feel betrayed, not just by Jake, but by myself. I thought I was stronger than this, but jealousy had a sneaky way of creeping back in. I needed to face it head on. I had to turn this pain into something powerful. I couldn't let jealousy control me any longer. It was time to take back my strength. "Enough is enough," I whispered to myself, determination rising in my chest. I grabbed my phone, ready to make a plan. I wasn't going to let Jake and Zoe ruin my life. I'd reclaim my power. Jealousy was squeezing my heart like a vice. I was done, letting Jake's nasty words control me. I needed to find my inner strength. I didn't just want to prove him wrong, I wanted my life back. No more wallowing in envy. I jumped into action. I hit the books like a whirlwind, joined every club I could find, and surrounded myself with friends who lifted me up. Each small win made me feel lighter, like I was shaking off a heavy backpack filled with rocks. I realized my worth didn't depend on what Jake thought. I began to see my own potential, and it felt amazing. With every goal I smashed, the joy drowned out Jake's insults. I wasn't doing this for him. I was doing it for me. I was building a future I could be proud of, not just getting back at him. The days of feeling like a loser were quickly fading away. I transformed from a girl desperate for approval to a young woman creating her own path. This journey revealed a strength I never knew I had. With each step, I felt more powerful and confident. I wanted to shout, "Look how far I've come!" My inner strength was shining bright, and I was finally on the right track. Then, Jake tried to reel me back in. "You're nothing without me," he sneered one day, trying to break my spirit again. But instead of crumbling, I stood tall. "Watch me," I shot back, my voice steady. As I stood at the edge of a new beginning, I knew I'd to face my past. Jake's mean. Words played in my head like a broken record. "You'll never be as good as her," he used to say, and those words stung like a bee. I felt like I was carrying a heavy backpack filled with doubt while I just wanted to fly free. I'd to tackle those feelings head on. This journey wasn't just about showing Jake he was wrong. It was about taking back my story. I'd to feel the hurt he caused, the moments when I doubted myself. Every time I did something great, pride filled me, but deep down, I worried I was only trying to get back at him. Was I really healing, or just running from the pain? I started to see that facing my past meant forgiving myself for letting Jake's words control me. I wasn't a loser, I was a fighter. I'd big dreams and talents he never saw. The hurt from his betrayal pushed me to rise up, but it was my own strength that would carry me forward. It wasn't easy to confront my past. I'd to be honest and brave. But it was necessary. I couldn't let Jake's voice drown out my own anymore. As I stepped into my new life, I felt lighter, ready to embrace the future without the shadows of yesterday dragging me down. "Hey, you're stronger than you think," my friend Mia said, giving me a smile. "Jake doesn't define you." "I know," I replied, feeling a spark of hope. "It's time to write my own story, one without him in it." I thought I was moving forward, but Jake's lies hit me hard. I'd tried so hard to prove him wrong, only to find out he was still pulling strings behind my back. When I overheard him telling Zoe I was a loser who'd never succeed, it felt like a punch to the gut. How could he twist my struggles like that? It hurt. Bad. Even though Jake's lies hurt like 1,000 tiny stings, I knew I'd to stand up for myself. I'd let his mean words control me for too long. No more. I was done feeling small and worthless. It was time to start my journey of self-acceptance and take back my life. Each morning, I woke up ready to remind myself that I was strong and deserved respect. One day, I confronted Jake. "You don't get to define who I am," I shouted. His smirk disappeared, and for a second, I saw fear in his eyes. I felt powerful. It was freeing, but I knew rebuilding my trust in myself would take time. I'd to believe I was enough. No matter what he thought, I threw myself into school, joining clubs, and making friends who lifted me up. I found happiness in my achievements. I realized my worth didn't depend on Jake. Each award and compliment fueled my fire. I wasn't just the girl he dismissed, I was strong and tough. I felt like I was alone in a dark tunnel, fighting my battles, with no one to help. But then my friends shone a light on my path. When everything felt broken, they were there to lift me up, reminding me I was worth something. Each day, our friendship grew stronger. I didn't have to deal with my breakup alone anymore. Sam stood by me like a rock, always ready to listen when I needed to spill my heart. "Jake's words don't matter," my friends would say. "Don't let him get to you." Every time jealousy or anger surged inside me, they pulled me back from the edge. Instead of plotting revenge, they pushed me to chase my dreams. They cheered for every little victory, making me feel important and strong. Their support opened my eyes to the truth. I could do so much more than I thought. I learned that real friends don't just clap when you win, they help you heal from the hurt. They showed me strength I didn't know I had. As I faced each challenge, I felt their love like a shield, protecting me and pushing me to move forward. I realized the power of friendship was way stronger than any petty revenge. With their help, I began to see my own value and the journey I was on. True strength comes from lifting each other up, not tearing others down. But then, just when I thought I was healing, betrayal struck. I found out Sam had been talking to Jake behind my back. "Why didn't you tell me?" I shouted, my heart racing with anger and hurt. Sam's eyes were wide and he stammered, "I didn't want to hurt you." The trust I'd built crumbled. I felt like I was standing on shaky ground. My friends had turned into a storm, and I was caught in the middle. I'd to decide. Would I let this betrayal sink me, or would I rise above it? The anger bubbled inside me, but I remembered what my friends had taught me. Instead of seeking revenge, I focused on myself. I wouldn't let anyone control my happiness again. After my breakup with Jake, feelings of betrayal hit me hard. I wanted revenge, and it felt like a dark cloud following me everywhere. His nasty words echoed in my head, especially that stupid smirk when he said I'd never be as good as his ex. I could almost feel the fire in my chest, pushing me to show him I was better. "Just wait, Jake. You'll see," I muttered under my breath, clenching my fists. But as I plotted, something gnawed at me. Was revenge really the answer? Every time I imagined hurting him back, I felt a twist in my stomach. Would it make me happy, or just drag me deeper into a mess? I didn't want to be like him, the guy who thrived on making others feel miserable. I hit the books hard and started winning awards at school. Look at me now, I thought, but each achievement felt empty. Sure, I was doing great things, but why did it all feel like a game? I didn't want my life to be about getting back at someone. I wanted to be happy for me. One day, as I stared at my latest trophy, I heard a voice in my head. "You're better than this." It hit me. I didn't need Jake's approval to feel good about myself. I needed to focus on my own path, not his. "Forget him," I whispered, determination flooding my veins. I turned my back on thoughts of revenge. Instead, I chose to heal, to grow, and to find joy without needing to prove anything to anyone. Letting go of my desire for revenge opened a new chapter in my life, but the urge to expose Jake's lies lingered like a shadow. He made me look like a loser, and I couldn't let that stand. I needed everyone to see the real Jake, the one who hid behind his fake charm. I started planning how to take him down. I listened in on his conversations, collecting every piece of evidence I could find. With each lie I uncovered, my anger turned into determination. I wrote a speech for the school assembly, my chance to show the world what Jake really was. I imagined the gasps from the crowd when his mask finally slipped. As I practiced my speech, my heart raced. Would this really hurt him, or would it just make me like him? I reminded myself, this wasn't about revenge, it was about standing up for myself. I needed to show everyone that I was more than his cruel words. Finally, the day of the assembly arrived. My heart pounded as I stepped onto the stage. This was it. I was ready to expose his lies and take back my story. I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the moment. No more hiding. It was time to shine a light on the truth. "Jake!" I shouted, my voice echoing through the gym. "You think you can keep lying to everyone? You think you can make me feel small?" The crowd fell silent, eyes wide. Jake stood frozen, his smirk fading. "What are you talking about?" he shot back, but I could see the cracks in his confidence. "I'm talking about the way you treat people, the way you twist the truth." I pointed at him, feeling powerful. "You're not the hero here, you're the villain!" Gasps erupted from the audience, whispers filled the air. I could see Jake's face flush with anger and embarrassment. This was my moment. "I have proof," I declared, pulling out my phone. "Listen to this voice message." I played the recording, revealing his deceit in clear words. The crowd was stunned. I could feel the tide turning. Jake's facade was crumbling. "You're making a mistake," he yelled, but I stood my ground. "No, Jake, you made the mistake by thinking you could control me. The crowd murmured, some nodding in agreement. I was no longer the victim. I was the one in control. As soon as I stepped off the stage, my heart raced. I'd just called out Jake's lies in front of everyone at school. The room buzzed with whispers, and I could feel their eyes on me. Part of me felt like a hero, but another part was scared. Was this really what I wanted? After the big reveal, everything went wild. Jake's face turned white, and I could see the anger boiling inside him. I felt powerful for a second, but then fear crept in. Had I gone too far? I'd opened a door that couldn't be closed. The thrill of getting back at him faded as the reality of my choice hit me hard. I walked away, feeling a sick twist in my stomach. I wanted to show everyone I was better, but was it worth it? I glanced at Sam. His face was full of shock and disappointment. My heart sank. I thought this would make me strong, but deep down, I felt weak. Now, I'd to deal with what I'd done. Jake was definitely going to retaliate, and I wasn't sure I was ready for that fight. I wanted to break free from his grip, but I worried I'd just stuck myself in a cycle of revenge. What had I really accomplished? The question swirled in my mind as I tried to figure out what to do next. "Hey, are you okay?" Sam finally asked, his voice low. I don't know, I admitted, feeling the weight of my actions crash down like a wave. "You shouldn't have done that," he said, shaking his head. "I had to," I shot back, but my voice lacked conviction. "Did you?" He stared at me, and suddenly I felt even more lost. The assembly felt like a punch to the gut. I thought telling everyone about Jake would make me feel free, but as soon as I sat down, guilt crashed over me like a tidal wave. I'd become the very thing I despised. I didn't just hurt Jake, I hurt myself too. Was it worth it? I'd crossed a line that should never have been crossed. I glanced at Sam. His face said it all, shock and disappointment. It felt like an invisible wall was building between us. I didn't want to lose him, someone who truly cared, but I felt stuck in a trap of my own making. My actions had consequences, and now I understood that revenge only leads to more pain. Instead of feeling strong, I felt hollow. I kept replaying that moment in my head. I never wanted to be like Jake, yet here I was, sinking to his level. The guilt clawed at me, whispering that I might lose my integrity and Sam's respect. Days dragged on, and the regret wouldn't let me go. I wished for a way to fix everything, but how? Could I ever look in the mirror and be proud of who I saw? I'd to face my choices and figure out who I wanted to be. I needed to break free from this cycle of hurt. "Why did you do it?" Sam finally asked one day, his voice low. "I thought it would help," I replied, my heart racing. "Help?" "You just pushed me away," he said, shaking his head. I felt my heart sink. "I didn't mean to. I thought I was being strong." "Strong? This isn't strength, it's weakness," he shot back, his eyes blazing with hurt. I thought exposing Jake would make me feel like a hero, but I quickly learned I'd to face the mess I created. When I stood in front of my classmates, I felt powerful, but that feeling vanished like smoke. Jake's face twisted in anger, and I knew I'd stirred up trouble. Now he was after me, and I was scared. This wasn't who I wanted to be. I'd to face the consequences of my choices, not just from Jake, but from within myself. I needed to take back my life, to find a way to heal. I'd to let go of the anger and start fresh, even if it seemed impossible. It was time to confront my truth, and I knew I'd to take that first step. Enough is enough, I whispered to myself. It was time to fight back against the chaos I'd created. I took a deep breath and stepped forward, ready to reclaim my strength and find my way back to who I really was. I stood there, heart racing, as I faced the fallout of my choices. Every move I made sent shockwaves through my life and the lives of others. When I exposed Jake, I thought I was taking back control, but I didn't think about how it would affect my friends. They looked worried, and even Sam, my rock, felt the pressure. Our friendship started to feel like a fragile glass, ready to shatter. Trust? It was like a puzzle with missing pieces. I realized my healing wasn't just about me. It was about everyone caught in the storm I created. Did I really want revenge so badly that I hurt others? A dark thought crept into my mind, but I had to face it. I could either keep hurting people or find a way to grow. As I dug deeper into this journey, I found new paths that didn't involve revenge. I started focusing on my dreams, pouring my energy into things that truly mattered. Healing meant letting go of the need to prove anything to Jake. I'd to learn to trust again, not just in others, but in myself too. Every choice I made shaped my future. The ripple effects could lead to more pain or bring me closer to the person I wanted to be. It was a hard lesson, but it changed everything. I was ready to embrace my new reality, one where I could finally let go and start to heal. "Are you okay?" Sam asked, concern etched on her face. "I will be," I replied, determination swelling inside me. I'm done letting him control my life. Navigating relationships felt like running through a tricky maze. Trust was the key, but after my breakup with Jake, I was lost. How could I open my heart again after being hurt? It was like walking on thin ice, scared to let anyone in. Sam was nice and really cared about me, but I couldn't shake the fear of feeling that same old pain. I knew I'd to set boundaries. I'd to say what I needed without pushing Sam away. One night, we were sitting together, and I felt the weight of my past pressing down on me. "I need to take things slow," I told him, my voice shaking. He nodded, his eyes understanding. That moment felt like a breath of fresh air. As we spent more time together, I realized trust isn't just given, it's earned. I'd to let Sam show me he was different. Every time he came through for me, I felt my walls start to crack, but the shadows of Jake still haunted me. What if I never escaped them? Facing my fears was tough. I worried Sam might turn out to be just like Jake. I needed someone who respected my boundaries but also made me feel safe. One day, I found myself staring at my phone, debating whether to text Sam. My heart raced. Was I ready to let someone in again? When I finally did text him, my heart raced. "Can we talk?" I sent. He replied quickly, "Of course. Meet me at our spot." I felt a mix of excitement and dread. What if this went wrong? When we met, I looked him in the eye. "I'm scared," I admitted. "I don't want to get hurt again." Sam took a deep breath and said, "I promise I won't hurt you." His words hung in the air, heavy yet hopeful. Learning about relationships felt like a wild ride filled with twists and turns. Trust and vulnerability were part of the journey, but I discovered something even bigger. My worth comes from me, not from what others think. For too long, I let Jake's words control how I saw myself. I thought I'd to show him, and everyone else, that I was better than his ex. That just made me anxious and trapped in a loop of comparing myself to others. When I started my journey to self-acceptance, everything changed. I realized that my achievements shouldn't be about getting back at someone or seeking their approval. They should be about my own growth and happiness. Every time I reached a goal, it felt amazing because it was mine, not something borrowed from anyone else's opinion. I began to recognize my strengths and accept my weaknesses. No more competing with Jake or anyone else. I celebrated my wins for what they were. This journey was about finding peace within myself, not about proving anything to someone who didn't deserve my time. I learned that true worth is all about self-love. It's okay to be vulnerable, to trust again, and most importantly, to decide my own value. I became my own biggest fan, and that realization flipped everything upside down. Why did I let his words hurt me so much? I asked myself one night, staring at the ceiling. "You're stronger than that," I whispered back, feeling a spark of determination ignite inside me. After everything with Jake, I knew I'd to find my own peace. His words hung over me like a dark cloud. I was tired of carrying that weight. It was time to heal. I grabbed my journal and started writing. Why did I let him control me? I scribbled angrily, letting the hurt spill onto the pages. Writing felt freeing. It was my safe place to confront the pain without fear. I looked in the mirror and asked, why did I need Jake's approval? I'd to forgive myself. I wasn't a loser. I was strong. That hit me like a lightning bolt. I was tired of feeling small. Sam, can you talk? I called my friend. As we chatted, I felt lighter. Sam listened as I shared my dreams. You're worth so much more than Jake ever saw, Sam said. Those words sunk deep. I was finally seeing my value beyond his shadow. Every morning, I stood tall and said, I am enough. I'm worthy. Those words replaced the negativity Jake planted in my mind. I could feel the power building inside me. Finding closure was just the beginning. Now it was time to move forward. I realized that my journey couldn't just be about proving Jake wrong. I'd to discover who I really was. Every day was a challenge. Memories of Jake crept in, trying to pull me back into his web of manipulation. I decided to try new things. I dove into clubs that sparked my interest. Sam became my rock. You're worth so much more than what Jake thought of you, he said, reminding me that I didn't need his approval. I learned to embrace my strengths and own my flaws. Each step I took felt like a small win against the darkness he left behind. Moving on meant letting go of the anger. Revenge wasn't the answer. Instead, I found my power in chasing my dreams. I wanted to shape my future, not to get back at Jake, but for me. Every achievement felt like a victory. When I got recognized for my hard work, I stood tall with pride. This is for me, I whispered, realizing it wasn't about Jake anymore. It was about reclaiming my life. I'd faced so much: heartbreak, betrayal, and lies. But now, I was ready to discover who I really was. The past felt like a heavy backpack slipping off my shoulders, and I was eager to run forward. Each day was a new beginning, a chance to reshape my identity. Thinking about Jake still stung. His harsh words echoed in my mind, but I refused to let him win. I channeled my pain into my studies and my friendships. I found my tribe, people who cheered for me, who made me feel seen. Every little victory mattered. Each award I snagged felt like a punch in Jake's gut. I was proving to him, and to myself, that I could rise from the ashes. I realized my worth didn't depend on anyone else's opinion. As I continued this journey, I learned something surprising. It wasn't about getting back at Jake. It was about finding happiness inside. I started to shake off the anger. I tried new things, filled my days with laughter, and built real connections. This chapter was mine to create. I wasn't the girl who needed approval anymore. I was on my way to becoming the woman I always dreamed of, and it felt amazing.